Hello, and welcome into today's YouTube Live, where we will be talking about interview questions when you are interviewing with your employer on this H2B visa. So what I will be doing is calling out some of the questions that employers may frequently ask you, and then I will give some sample answers in that as well. So apologies for not being on the widescreen. I'm actually traveling to Florida and I'm in Florida right now, and I completely forgot to bring my laptop. So I'm going to get into the questions and start with them. And you have the opportunity in this call that if any questions arise that you want to ask, you can, and you may ask those questions below so I can answer them for you. Let me just make sure that I can see any questions. They come. Okay, great. So the first question that generally an employer may ask you in an interview is to tell me about yourself. Now, what they mean by tell me about yourself is to tell them about some qualities that you have, some skills that you have that may be applicable to the job. You could also tell them about some of your hobbies that may indicate that you have a healthy lifestyle, which will add to the job. And also you can let them know of any previous job experience that you have as well. So a sample answer to the question, tell me about yourself, may look like, hi, so I'm Sarah. I actually just recently got back from traveling Europe for the past couple of months, and I found out that I really have a passion for traveling, which is why I got so excited when I heard about this opportunity to work in a country club in Florida as a server, because I both have serving experience and I also have a background of a bit of travel as well, so I know I can be okay with being away. I also love fitness, and I'm really into going on long walks, yoga, the gym, and into reading books and self-development. Now, that kind of answer will give the employer a good rounded view of who you are, of some of your previous experience, and of how your skills may apply to this job. So they probably don't want to know, obviously, your whole life story of, hello, I was born in this place at this age. You just want what applies to the job and a little bit of your personality. So how did you hear about us? Could be the next question. So an employer may ask, how did you hear about us? And now you can let them know that, hey, I found you on LinkedIn, I found you through Coolworks, I found you through a YouTube channel where Sarah talks about jobs, or I found you on a Facebook group page. You can let them know where you found out about them. The next question that you may be asked is, what do you know about us? Now, this question gives you, the employee, an opportunity to show and share that you do have some knowledge, that you have done your research on the job, to show that you are really invested and interested in it. So a sample, if you are going to work as a server in a country club, you can say, yes, I've done some research. I see that you have 7 different restaurants and you have 1 cafe, as well as 2 golf courses, and you have 1,000 members who live in the community. So you could say a sample answer like this, just to show that you did do some of your background research, and you may have an opportunity then to ask any questions. So another question could be, why do you want to work here? So this is when you get to showcase what your intentions are and why you want to actually work in this job or in this position. So whether the position that you're applying for is going to be a server or a housekeeper or front desk, you get to showcase some of your skills here. So a sample answer to this question could be, I want to work here because I've just been traveling for a couple of months, or I have a passion for travel, and Florida looks like a beautiful place to work, as well as your country club looks like a beautiful environment to work. And I also have the skills that are required for this job. So I actually have previous experience either housekeeping or serving or working at the front desk, and I really enjoy it. So that can be a great sample answer for that question. Another question can be, give me an example of how you solved a problem in the past. Now, with this question, an employee probably wants you to know that if a problem arises, that you can solve it, that you can turn something negative into a positive, that you are a problem solver, because that is a great skill, especially if you are working in the service industry. So a sample that I actually gave myself on an interview was, I said, okay, well, when I first arrived to one of my H2B seasons, I was very disappointed by the quality of the living, because when I got there, I was living in a motel and there was trash all over the floor. I didn't even have a bed. Um, the bathroom had mold all over it, and I was really upset by this. But what I done is I was solution, not problem orientated. So I asked some of my neighbors if they could lend me a vacuum. I vacuumed the place, I cleaned it. Some of my neighbors actually helped me to carry in a new bed. And I went to Walmart and I got excited about the opportunity to decorate my new place. And I got to, really decorate it. And I actually gave the employer a look around at my room that I had decorated, and they were very impressed by that. So that is an example. Now, another example that maybe you can apply this to a work situation is if you were working as a housekeeper before, you can say something like, I got a call to the room that one guest has arrived, that there was an issue with their booking and they need their room ASAP. So you could say, I dropped the room that I was doing right now because it wasn't a priority, to go and to clean their room to have it ready as quickly as possible. Or if you were working in the service industry, you can say that someone at the table's food did not come in time, and how you solve that. So maybe you went to the kitchen and you told the chef, maybe you checked the tickets, maybe you let a manager know and solve that situation. Now, another question can be, what are your strengths? So an example of some strengths can be that you are reliable, that you are a good team player, that you are positive, that you are energetic. So what I would do before you answer this question is think about the role that you are applying for and think about what skills you have that are applicable to that. So for example, if I'm applying for the position of a housekeeper, I probably don't need to talk a lot about my computer skills because it's not applicable to that job. Instead, I maybe want to talk about that I have good time management. I work well on initiative because I'm working obviously more by myself, and I'm like dedicated and punctual. Okay. Now, what are your weaknesses is a question that you may get asked. And for this one, we don't particularly want to mention a weakness that is required skill for the job. So as an example, if you are applying for the job of a server and you say that your weaknesses are that you are quite shy with talking to people, and your weakness is multitasking. Well, this may not be the best weaknesses to showcase or to use as an example, because these are skills that are more required for that job, because you will be multitasking in taking orders, you will be talking face to face with people. So it may be, whereas if you were applying for a position of a housekeeper and you said that you're more shy talking face to face, well, that's okay because it's not really a required skill to have for that job position. So some example weaknesses that you could say are that you do not have computer skills. So if you're applying for the position of a server or a housekeeper, it may not be required that you need to have those skills. You could say something like that. Or if you were applying for the position of a housekeeper, you could say maybe you're a little shy with talking with people. And if you're applying for the position of a server, you can say sometimes you have a hard time saying no to people, and you may take on a lot and you get it all done, but it causes a little bit of high stress. So you could work on delegating or just explaining more. So another example of question is, give me an example of when you showed leadership or initiative. So you can go back to your past job experience and pluck an example. So an example that an employer can answer this question is, when I was working in a restaurant as a server, my table order didn't get put into the system, so they were waiting for 30 minutes and had no food. And so what I done is I went straight to the manager. I let them know about the situation so we could explain it to the table, and we could give them maybe a free drink on the house while they wait, and also went to the kitchen to let them know about this so they could prioritize that dish to make it as quick as possible and on top of the others. Or maybe it is that you wanted to ask your manager if you could possibly give them a discount for that inconvenience. So that is an example of when you showed leadership or initiative, and it's also an example of problem solving. So where do you see yourself in 5 years is another question that an employer may ask you to get a gauge for what is your goals for the future. So an example of what you may say if you are applying for a position of a server or housekeeper or front desk attendant is that you can say, well, my goal actually is to gain experience here and then to go back home to my country and to be able to progress and to get better jobs in this industry, because with the experience of working in this 5-star club, I could go back, and then my goal is to be a manager in one of these areas or to be a supervisor in one of these areas in the next 5 years. So how are you with conflict is another question you may be asked. How are you with dealing with conflict? So if a problem arises, or if a fight comes up with a team member, are you good with dealing with that conflict? Now, if you are working in a job and working in the service industry, you want to have minimal conflict, because you want to be presented well in front of the guests, and the guests do not want to see you fight. Your employers do not want to see you fight. So a great answer would be that you can handle conflict well. And they may ask you an example of a time where you navigated that conflict. So an example of how someone may navigate conflict is if two of your employers were having a fight about what soup is the soup of the day. You know, you have the opportunity or the option to get involved in that fight and to maybe have your opinion, or you could stay out of it, or you could maybe find the answer. So there's a couple of it's probably not the best answer I can think of right now. I'm sure there's a better example I can think of actually with that one. But anyway, what you do want to portray is that you are good at solving conflict if that does arise. And then they may close with asking you, do you have any questions for me? That you have the opportunity then to ask the employer of any questions that you may have for them. So an example of some questions that you may ask them is, please describe for me what a day in the life at work would look like. And an employer then can walk you through, okay, so if you are working as a server, your shift will possibly start at this time or this time, and you'll come in, you will be setting up for the breakfast or for the dinner shift. You will be doing roll-ups, and then we will have a meeting to let you know what the specials are for tonight, and we'll do a food tasting, and then we'll have you set up the tables, and then you'll have an opportunity to eat at about, let's say, 4 p.m. before service. And then service will go on for about 4 hours, where you will be serving guests, and we'll have approximately X amount of tables. And you will have about 6 tables to take care of for the night. And then after, you will be breaking down, cleaning, and getting set up for the next day. So that may be an example of what a day in the life may look like. And another question you can ask is, how will I know if I got the job, or how will you contact me? And then the employer may let you know that they will, they have interviews over the next couple of weeks. So it'll be a couple of weeks before you'll hear back from them once they've finished all the interviews, and then they will reach you by phone or by email, and they will let you know. So yeah, that is a basic run through of some questions and answers that an employer and employee may discuss through an interview for the H2B visa. If you have any questions, I will give you an opportunity to leave any of those down below as well before I get ready to sign off for this video. Also, I will be keeping an eye out on the comments of this video for about 10-15 minutes after I post, so you have an opportunity then to ask a question, and I will get back to you. I also do check my my comments regularly, so do leave comments if you have questions, or if you have an idea for a future video that I can make for you as well. I'm gonna sip my water. Alright, I'm not seeing any questions at this time, so I'm gonna sign out and say goodbye to you and good luck for you in your H2B visa interview, and I will see you in the comment section and in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed.